Something felt off that day. I couldn't quite place it, like a faint crack in a painting you've stared at for years. My weekly Zoom call with Amber and my grandson was about to start, a ritual I clung to like a lifeline. I'd spent the morning tidying the house, the smell of old wood and lavender polish filling the air, hoping to see my grandson smile through the screen. I'm Ruth Whitmore, a retired art teacher who's lived in this Vermont house for over 40 years. It's where I raised my son, where I mourned my husband, and where I taught my grandson, Tommy, to hold a paintbrush before he could even spell his name. Those moments with him, they're my treasure, brighter than any painting on these walls. But that afternoon, as I clicked into the Zoom call, my stomach churned with a strange unease. Amber's face filled the screen, her smile tight, almost rehearsed. "Hi, Ruth. Tommy's just grabbing his sketchbook," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. Tommy waved, his little face lighting up my world. We chatted, me asking about his drawings, Amber nodding along, her eyes darting away. Then she said they had to go. "Talk next week, Ruth." The call ended, or so I thought. I reached to close my laptop, but Amber's voice stopped me cold. She hadn't hung up. She hadn't muted her mic. "God, she's so gullible," Amber said, her tone sharp, like a knife slicing through canvas. "Keep playing nice, and I'll have her sign over the house by spring. The kid's our ticket. She'd do anything for him." My hands froze, trembling against the desk. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. I heard another voice, her new boyfriend maybe, laughing. "What's the old lady worth anyway? Easy prey. Easy prey." The words burned, each syllable a betrayal. I snapped the laptop shut, the click echoing like a gunshot in my quiet house. I sat there, the room suddenly colder, the golden light now harsh against my skin. How could she, after everything I'd done? Opening my home, my wallet, my heart to her after my son's death. I trusted her, loved her like a daughter. Was I blind, or just desperate to hold on to family? But something shifted inside me, a spark beneath the hurt. I wasn't going to let Amber take everything. Not my home, not my grandson's future. I needed a plan, one she'd never see coming. But how do you outsmart someone who thinks you're nothing but a frail old woman? Before we dive deeper, tell me, where are you tuning in from? If this story's grabbing you, hit that like button and subscribe. Tomorrow, I've got something special waiting. Why did I give so much to Amber? That question gnawed at me as I sat in my quiet house, the sting of her words still fresh. The smell of brewed coffee lingered, mixing with the musty scent of old papers piled around me. I'd spent years building this home, this life for my family, but now I wondered, had I been pouring my heart into a lie? I'm Ruth Whitmore, and this house in Vermont has been my anchor for 40 years. It's where I raised my son, David, after my husband passed. When David died 8 years ago in that awful car accident, it felt like the world cracked open. Amber, his widow, was left with their son, Tommy, my grandson. I promised myself I'd hold them close no matter what. I brought Amber into this house after the funeral. She was pale, her eyes red from crying, clutching Tommy like he was all she had left. "We'll get through this together," I told her, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. I meant it. I opened my home, my savings, everything. I paid for Tommy's preschool, covered Amber's bills when she said she couldn't work, grieving too hard. The stack of receipts on this table, electricity, groceries, her car repairs, they're proof of every sacrifice. But Amber, she changed. At first she'd thank me, her words warm but brief. "You're a lifesaver, Ruth," she'd say, her smile fleeting as she scrolled her phone. Over time, those thank yous grew colder, like she expected my help, like it was her right. She'd drop Tommy off for weeks, saying she needed space to heal. I'd find myself alone with him, teaching him to paint, watching his tiny hands smear colors across canvas. Those moments with Tommy were my joy, but Amber's absence left a hollow space. I started to wonder if I'd misread her. Was I too trusting? Did I miss the signs? I'd lie awake at night, the creak of this old house louder than my thoughts, replaying her quick smiles, her rushed excuses. The paintings on my walls, gifts from students over decades, stared back like silent witnesses. I'd given Amber so much, thinking she was family. But family doesn't just take, does it? Family gives back. Sitting there, surrounded by bills and memories, I felt weary, like the weight of those years was pressing down on my shoulders. I'd sacrificed so much, my savings, my energy, my trust, to keep Amber and Tommy afloat. But now, after hearing her voice on that unmuted Zoom call calling me easy prey, I couldn't shake the doubt. Had I been a fool all along? I loved Amber like a daughter, but her betrayal was a crack I couldn't ignore. What had I missed? What was she hiding? I didn't have answers yet, but one thing was clear. I couldn't let her unravel everything I'd built. What kind of person schemes against someone who's given them everything? That question burned in my chest as I stared at the laptop, Amber's voice still echoing in my mind from that unmuted Zoom call. The air in my house felt heavy, laced with the damp scent of old wood, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. I'd trusted Amber, loved her like family, but now I was about to learn just how deep her betrayal ran. I'm Ruth Whitmore, a 76-year-old retired art teacher who thought she knew what family meant. But that afternoon, everything changed. I'd believed her then, her words wrapping around me like a comforting shawl. I'd let her into my home, my life, thinking she was grieving my son as much as I was. How could I have been so blind? That day, after her mic stayed on, I reopened the laptop, my hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped it. Amber's voice came through again, sharp and calculating, talking to her boyfriend. The house is paid off, and her savings? Probably 6 figures. Keep Tommy close and she'll hand it all over. Her words hit like a slap, each one tearing through the trust I'd built over years. My pulse raced, my breath catching in my throat as I listened to her laugh, a cold, hollow sound that made my skin crawl. I stood, pacing the room, my reflection flickering in the dark window. How dare she? After everything, paying her bills, giving her a home, loving her son like my own. I stopped in front of the mirror, my face pale, eyes burning. You were a fool, Ruth, I whispered to myself. You let her play you. The truth clawed at me. Amber didn't see me as family. She saw me as a mark, a stepping stone to her greed. I grabbed my phone, my fingers hovering over Amber's number. Part of me wanted to confront her, to scream, to demand answers, but then I saw her latest text, sent just minutes after the call. Thanks for chatting, Ruth. Tommy loves you. The hypocrisy made my stomach churn. I could picture her typing it, that fake smile plastered on her face, knowing she'd just called me easy prey. She thought I was weak, too old to fight back. She was wrong. I sat back down, the laptop's glow now a cold, accusing light. The room felt smaller, the air thick with betrayal. I remembered Amber's promises, her tearful hugs after David's funeral, all of it a lie. Every kind word, every smile. She'd been playing a long game, waiting to take what was mine, my home, my savings, my grandson's future. But I wasn't done yet. Amber thought she could outsmart me, but I'd been through too much, losing my husband, my son, to let her win. I needed to protect Tommy, to keep this house out of her hands. But how? What could I do to stop someone so ruthless? Telling this story wasn't easy. It took hours to piece together the pain, the betrayal. If it's gripping you, please subscribe to our channel. It means the world to us. And in the comments, tell me, what would you do if you were in my shoes? How do you fight someone who's already counted you out? That question haunted me as I sat in my quiet house, Amber's cruel words, easy prey, still ringing in my ears. The air carried the musty scent of old wood and the sharp tang of ink from the papers I'd been sorting. I was 76, but I wasn't done yet. Amber thought she could take everything, my home, my savings, my grandson's future. I was about to prove her wrong. I'm Ruth Whitmore, a retired art teacher who's spent a lifetime building this life in Vermont. After hearing Amber's plan through that unmuted Zoom call, I knew I couldn't just sit still. My husband's words came back to me now, steadying my shaking hands. He'd taught me to be strong, to guard what mattered. I wasn't going to let Amber steal it all. I drove to town that morning, my old car rattling along the winding Vermont roads. My heart raced, a mix of fear and determination, as I pulled into the parking lot of a small law office. My lawyer, Margaret, greeted me with a firm handshake. Her office was all business, stacked files, a polished desk, but her eyes were kind, sharp. "Tell me everything, Ruth," she said, her voice calm but steady. I laid it all out. Amber's betrayal, her plan to take my house, her manipulation using Tommy. Margaret leaned forward, jotting notes. "We can protect your assets with a trust," she said. "It'll lock everything down for you and Tommy. Amber won't touch a dime." We worked for hours, crafting a trust that would secure my home and savings for Tommy's future. Every signature felt like a small rebellion, a step toward taking back control. Could this really work? Could I outsmart Amber before she realized what I was doing? The thought sent a shiver through me, but it wasn't just fear, it was hope. Back home, I started putting the rest of my plan in motion. I froze the joint accounts I'd shared with Amber, the ones I'd foolishly let her access for emergencies. I called a realtor about a new place, a secure retirement community where Amber couldn't just show up. The house felt different now, its warmth fading, like it knew I was preparing to leave. The paintings on the walls, gifts from students over decades seemed to watch me, urging me on. But doubt lingered. What if Amber found out? What if she turned Tommy against me? My grandson was my heart, and the thought of losing him made my chest tighten. I pushed it aside, focusing on the plan. I had to stay sharp, stay secret. Amber thought she was playing me, but I was rewriting the rules. My plan was set, but would it be enough? Could I really outmaneuver someone so cunning? I didn't know yet, but I was ready to fight. Could I really take back my life from Amber's grasp? That question pulsed through me as I stood in my half-empty house, the weight of my plan settling in my bones. The room smelled of cardboard and fresh paint, a new beginning taking shape. I'd spent weeks preparing, signing papers, locking accounts, planning my escape. Amber thought she had me cornered, but today, I was ready to turn the tables. I'm Ruth Whitmore, a 76-year-old who's learned the hard way that family isn't just blood, it's trust. Amber's betrayal, her cold words calling me easy prey on that unmuted Zoom call, had lit a fire in me. I'd set up a trust to protect my home and savings for my grandson Tommy, cutting Amber out completely. I'd found a new home in a secure retirement community. Now it was time to face her. I took a deep breath and dialed Amber's number. She picked up on the second ring, her voice dripping with that fake warmth. "Ruth, how's my favorite mother-in-law?" I could hear the smirk in her tone, the same one she'd used to mask her scheming. "Amber, we need to talk. I'm done paying your bills. The accounts are locked, and the house is in a trust for Tommy. You get nothing." Silence. Then her voice turned sharp, panicked. "What are you talking about, Ruth? You can't do this. Tommy needs me." I cut her off. "I heard you, Amber, on Zoom. You called me easy prey, plotting to take my home. It's over." Her breath hitched, followed by a string of excuses, tears, apologies, claims it was a misunderstanding. But I saw through it. Every sob was as fake as her smiles had been for years. She tried everything, begging, yelling, even threatening to call the police. "You can't cut me out, Ruth. I'm family," she screamed. "Family? Family doesn't scheme to steal what you've built." I hung up, her voice still echoing in my ears, and for the first time in weeks, I felt light, like the air itself was cleaner. The next day, I moved into my new home, a cozy apartment in a retirement community, surrounded by green lawns and friendly faces. Amber tried to fight back, sending frantic emails, even showing up at the old house, but the trust was ironclad. My lawyer, Margaret, had made sure of that. Amber had no claim, no leverage. She was powerless, and I was free. I'd done it. I'd protected Tommy's future, kept my home out of her hands, and reclaimed my life. The weight of her betrayal lifted, replaced by a quiet pride. I stood in my new living room, the smell of fresh grass drifting through the open window, and smiled. Justice wasn't loud. It was this moment, this peace, this victory. Amber thought she could break me, but she didn't know the strength I'd built over a lifetime. What came next changed everything. If you're cheering for my victory, smash that like button to let us know. And in the comments, what do you think about this moment of justice? Share your thoughts. What do you find when you pick up the pieces of a broken trust? That question lingered as I stood in my new art studio, the smell of fresh paint and turpentine filling the air. The betrayal, Amber's cold words, her plot to take my home, had shattered me. But here, surrounded by color and light, I was starting to find something new, myself. I'm Ruth Whitmore, a 76-year-old who thought family was everything, until I learned it's not blood that binds us, it's gratitude. That day had cracked my world open, forcing me to face the truth about Amber, but it also pushed me to fight. For my home, for my grandson, Tommy, and for the life I'd built. I'd outsmarted her, secured my assets, and moved here, to this vibrant retirement community. Now I was ready to rebuild. One afternoon, as I unpacked my paints, I met Eleanor, a retired veteran with a sharp wit and a laugh that filled the room. We sat over coffee, the bitter aroma mixing with the sweet scent of blooming jasmine outside. "You've got fire in you, Ruth," she said, her voice warm but direct. "What do you want to do with it?" That question hit me like a spark. I told her about my years as an art teacher, about teaching Tommy to paint, about the joy of creating something from nothing. "Why not start again?" she asked, her eyes gleaming. "Teach us old folks to paint. Make something new." I took her advice. I started a painting class right here in the community center, surrounded by laughter and the hum of creativity. The first day I stood before a small group, my hands steady as I showed them how to mix colors. The room buzzed with energy, brushes dipping into paint, soft murmurs, the occasional chuckle. It felt like coming home. As I watched my students paint, I saw it. The strength I'd always had, buried under years of grief and trust in the wrong people. Amber's betrayal had hurt, but it also woke me up. I wasn't just a widow, a mother, a grandmother. I was Ruth, artist, teacher, survivor. Teaching again, sharing my love for art, brought me a happiness I hadn't felt in years. Eleanor became my rock, my friend. We'd sit after class, talking about life, loss, and the courage to start over. "Family's not who you're born with," she said one evening, her voice steady as we watched the sunset. "It's who shows up when you need them." She was right. Tommy was still my heart, and I'd see him soon, free from Amber's shadow. But Eleanor, this community, this studio, they were my new family, built on trust and gratitude. I'd lost so much to Amber's greed, but I'd gained something greater, confidence in myself. Every brushstroke, every class, was a step toward reclaiming my life. I wasn't done creating, not by a long shot. What lesson did you take from my journey? Share it in the comments below, and if this story moved you, pass it along to a friend who needs to hear it. What does it mean to truly find your family? That question settled over me like morning dew as I stood in the park, watching Tommy dip his brush into bright yellow paint. The sweet scent of wildflowers mixed with the earthy smell of fresh grass, grounding me in this moment. Amber's betrayal had broken my heart, but it also led me here, to a new life, a new strength, and a deeper understanding of what family really means. I'm Ruth Whitmore, a 76-year-old who thought I'd lost everything when I heard Amber's cruel words through that unmuted Zoom call. That moment had shattered my trust, but it also set me on a path I never expected. I fought back, securing my home and savings in a trust for Tommy, moving to this vibrant retirement community, and rediscovering my love for teaching art. Through it all, I learned a truth I'll carry forever. I looked at Tommy, his small hands smearing color across the canvas, and my heart swelled. He was my family, my reason to keep going. Amber was gone now, her schemes unraveled, her calls unanswered. But family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up with gratitude, who build you up instead of tearing you down. That evening, I sat with Eleanor in the community garden, the air cool and fragrant with roses. "You've built something beautiful here, Ruth," she said, her voice steady as she gestured to the park, to Tommy, to the life I'd reclaimed. "Family's not who you're given," she added. It's who you choose." I nodded, her words sinking deep. Eleanor, with her sharp wit and warm heart, had become my family. So had this community, with its laughter and shared stories. I'd spent years giving everything to Amber, thinking that was love. But love doesn't demand sacrifice without gratitude. It lifts you, like the colors on a canvas, like Tommy's smile when he showed me his painting. I'd found my strength, not just in outsmarting Amber, but in choosing myself, in painting a new door when the old one closed. My future stretched out like the park before me, full of possibility. I'd keep teaching art, sharing my passion with others. I'd watch Tommy grow, free from Amber's shadow. I was happy, not because I'd won, but because I'd found peace in who I was. Amber's betrayal was a wound, but it taught me the greatest lesson. Family is gratitude, and life is what you create with your own hands. I'd painted my new beginning, stroke by stroke, and it was more beautiful than I ever imagined.